States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. We got one board member that could not make it tonight. Ken will not be with us, so. Other than that, everybody else is here. Next item is to amend and or accept tonight's agenda. I don't have any amendments. Anybody else have anything?
Motion to accept.
Support. Okay, we have a motion and support to accept tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. At this time, it is time for public comment, which is limited to 2 minutes per person. Anybody have anything to say? Okay, let's move on. Move right into our audit presentation by Mr. Scott Hunter.
Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit. The road starts on page 15.
Which one?
The large, the small book. I'm not going to address.
Okay.
What that is that's it's called a single audit. Because we have over $750,000 of federal funds, we have to do compliance audit on some of that federal money. I guess the main thing you need to know is we didn't have any findings, so that's really the gist of that.
Okay.
So on page 14 and 15, just a reminder, the statement of net position is where we have to pull in like the pension liability, the buildings, depreciate the buildings. It's not how you do your budget. The main thing to get out of that is your net position actually improved by about $500,000 between the last 2 years. And you're still showing a negative net position of about $3 million, which is normal. You know, by the time we throw in your pension liability that the state says this is your portion, that's what drives it down to a negative net position. And most schools are in that position. So on page 20, this shows how the funds came out for the year. And this is how you budget. So we look at that first column, you'll see we've got the general fund. And the general fund had an increase in their fund balance of just over $292,000. This is compared to last year, we had a loss of $300,000. Probably the big change between the 2 years, last year you had transferred some money out of the general fund over to capital project fund. This year you did not. So without the transfer, like I said, there was a nice improvement of about $500,000, up to $300,000 that was relative to the transfer. So at the end of the year, your fund balance is just over $2.5 million, which is about 17.59% if you look at your overall expenditures, which is about where you want to be. The MSBO recommends that you fall in that 15 to 20% range. So you're right there. If you move across the bottom, you can see the capital project fund. There really wasn't much activity there. They had some interest income, a little bit of expenditures. So they had an increase of $12,000, bringing their ending fund balance to just under $600,000 for the year. The Early Learning Center Capital Project Fund, that is just about wrapped up. There's $8,000 left in that fund, so I would anticipate in this coming year that'll get wrapped up and then that fund will just go away. Food Service Fund, we had a nice increase again, and then that's the fund where the state says there's a maximum they want you to have in that fund, and we're over that maximum right now. But it sounds like you've got some plans to spend quite a bit of that money in this 23-24 year. That'll bring that fund balance back down to where the state wants it. And then the other funds, those are actually reported over on page 57, which is our Student Activities Fund, which is about a break even for the year. With School Operated Library, we had about a $20,000 improvement in that fund. A year ago, we had $8,000 loss. This year, we had a $12,000 increase. And the main reason for that is there were some capital outlay expenditures a year ago, which we did not have this current year. And then the debt fund, you can see at the end of the year was zero. So there was, this is the old debt that was paid off, the money remaining in that fund was transferred over to the general fund. So as of the end of '23, you don't have a debt fund. Now you do, you're back in the debt fund now with between the sinking fund and the bond money, you're actually gonna have two debt funds going forward. The main thing, and I met with Scott about this, the sinking fund has some pretty, has some requirements of what can and cannot be, that money can be spent on. So just, the state's really good resources within, if you have any doubt at all, just reach out to the state and say, is this some expenditure that qualifies for that sinking fund? And they're really, real good about telling you that. And then obviously the bond money, specific on what we can spend that money on as well. So overall, you know, the general fund's still in a real good position. You know, probably the couple takeaways is we're still have quite a bit of federal money that we're getting that is gonna go away. We still have quite a bit of money that we have not spent. It's in our deferred revenue, about $350,000 that has to do with at-risk. They got wraparound services money and the mental health grant that we received. So that's still sitting in deferred revenue, but I think the main thing is as you budget for this next couple of years, you know, that federal money is gonna start going away, all the ESSER's money and all that. So that's probably the main thing to keep in mind going forward. So that was a real quick recap of the audit. Accounting records were in great shape. ISD does a great job. You know, easy to work with. Anything we needed, they made it happen for us, so that helps out quite a bit.
Good deal.
Anybody have any questions for me?
I don't think so.
All right.
Sounds great.
I appreciate it. As always, if anything comes up,
Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
take your calls anytime.
Yep, all right. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our routine matters, would you approve our August minutes? If everyone had a chance to look those over.
Motion.
Support.
Motion and support to approve the August minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Matt, we need to consider our general fund invoices for payment.
Right, to make a motion to pay from the general fund checks 75907 through 76047 for $570,883.27. And from food services checks 75925 through 76013 for $44,792.49.
I'll support.
Okay, we have motion and support for our payment of invoices. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to reports and communications, myself, just thankful that our superintendent and his family are okay after a scary situation a few weeks ago. Could have been far worse, so thankful for everybody coming out of there healthy other than a few bumps and bruises.
Yeah, thank you.
And also, the other thing that I had is if you're watching the news today, you know what day it is today, and we all remember what we were doing back then on that day and where we were, and still leaves a lump in your throat when you see it and think about it, and you just don't want to forget. Other than that, that's all I have. Superintendent.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, family's doing well. Appreciate the community support and the school support. It was pretty scary. But we are mending well, so I'm very, very blessed and very thankful. Just a few items were in my written report, but kind of wanted to highlight. The district has been rekeyed He has finished up over the Labor Day weekend, so we have all new keys in the district, which has been a nice change. It's been a hurdle for some, but it is nice. We've had a few problems, or when I say problems, we had a few issues with locks sticking, or didn't know, so this group of people needed access to this because they keep something in there. He's been right back and fixed that stuff quickly. So we just did order some new master keys for law enforcement and for the fire department. We should get those by the end of the week. Buses. Our buses, we have 3, as you guys know, we ordered on May 3rd. We are told now that they are at the dealership where we purchased them from. We have to wait for a state police inspection of the new buses. It should put us 1 to 2 weeks behind, and then they will be delivered. So we're hoping by the beginning of October we will have the buses, and I hope at our October board meeting I can say our new buses have been delivered. So Transportation Department's been doing a nice job. We're thankful right now that it's not spring athletics. That's the time where we really seem to have a lot of our busing with athletic events. Remember last spring we were running out of buses. We had drivers, but we didn't have enough buses, so we are getting those there. Our bonds have been sold, and the money's been deposited in the bank. There wasn't much really for Liz and I to do, but I don't want to speak for Liz, but I'll speak for myself. But it was still kind of stressful, checking emails and reading documents and making sure things were deposited. And we were able to, I think we met our 2 o'clock deadline by like 5 minutes to have everything in order. So that money is deposited. We're looking forward to the good use that the community has gifted us for that money. Track engineers are still working on the track. We have a company coming out, we're hoping this week, to do soil borings on the track. They're gonna drill 9 holes into the track to get a soil sample and go down about 5 feet to make sure to see what our base looks like and our soil looks like. So we will have some holes in the track which could affect obviously our spring track season, which we knew anyway going into everything. But there's also going to be one in front of the concession stand as well. A lot of that will need to be replaced too. So we will make sure that that's marked off, or we'll make sure that that looks okay for our football games and everything squared away for that. But we're making progress and excited to see the work. Scott Hunter mentioned about our food service funds and that needing to spend some of that money. If you recall, we did put in new flooring and purchase new equipment. That was after July 1st. So that money we've already spent. It's just not accounted for in our general, or in the fund yet, because it was after the 1st of July. Other than that, anyone have any questions? No, thank you.
Okay, moving on to our business manager, Liz.
Yes, very happy in our office, the audit season is over. And, yeah, but we don't get much time for, rest, just like you guys don't. But we have some special education reports that are coming up that are due this month, and rumor has it that they might use some of the information from the transportation report that we do. Even though we're not reporting special ed transportation, we still report all of our costs on that report. And rumor has it they may use that for doling out some of the new transportation funding that's coming. We had a conference through MSBO last Thursday and got a little bit of information, but they're gonna divide all the school districts in the state into quartiles. And once they do that, and then they'll probably use our transportation costs that we report and figure out how that's gonna, so we still don't know exactly how much extra transportation funding, but there's gonna be some, so that's good news because that doesn't happen very often with state funding. So Our title application, we finally got that submitted. The state worked through some issues that they had with their application for the third year in a row, and we were able to get that submitted finally. And yes, Scott mentioned it, and I think I did too in my report, that we had that title review. And, you know, so thanks to Scott and Becky for all of their help with that, and, you know, working through that with at least Scott and I hadn't been here. Or, well, I think you were, but, you know, you were new. But the gentleman was really, really good to work with, and now he's over at the ISD doing the same thing for some of our other locals. And then the mental health money, we didn't learn a lot about that, you know, exactly what we can use that money for. I was able to go into like a breakout room and had some one-on-one time with one of the gentlemen that's in charge of that through MDE. And he said that, you know, they don't want to basically tell us how to spend it, but they are going to try to come up with some ideas of what schools can use it for, that may be kind of out of the norm, because it is hard to hire more social workers or mental health workers, because they're not available, because all the schools are trying to do that. But that was good. He said, you know, if we had some ideas, and Scott and I haven't even talked about this yet, but if we had some ideas and have some like evidence that backs up some of those ideas, and to shoot those to him, and he'd be glad to tell us whether or not he feels that, you know, is something that we could use those funds for. So, but yeah, so I think that's about it.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Principals. David, would you like to start?
Sure can. Good evening. We have finished 3 weeks of school, rolling right along. Things are going well with PBIS and enrolling that initiative out. We did our lessons with all students, and that's been good. We've got our posters up, there's tickets being handed out all over the place, so it's been really good. We will on Monday do kind of our first big celebration as an elementary school around that, so I'm looking forward to that and getting the kids more excited about it. There's a lot of specific language from the staff about what kids are doing or what they should be doing, so we're referring to those posters in the WHEEL acronym of being welcoming, honest, engaged, empathetic, and a leader. So it's been good. We have a meeting with our elementary team on Thursday to plan for Monday, so that we can continue to support staff and make sure that that's going well. We are collecting our benchmark data currently. I think we finished DIBELS on all students, just to see where they're at with reading in a minute, identifying sounds in a minute, identifying letters in a minute. So we did that K5, and then we are in the middle of NWEA. At the end of the month, we'll have our benchmark data meetings as grade levels, where we will guide staff in looking at that data and making plans for next steps for students. And then a couple of events coming up that I mentioned in my report, but I wanted to mention tonight. We're doing Rambler Dads again, which was formerly Watchdogs, and then we switched it last year. That kickoff event is next Monday evening. I believe it's the 29th of September. It's a Friday, the last Friday in September. We're doing Fun to Be Fit again. So Sarah Sluder organized that. So we'll have parents up at the track, and we'll walk and run and do that, I think, half an hour of physical activity to encourage that for our students and our families, and that's always a good turnout. Title I night will be October 4th this year. So we have our school improvement meeting tomorrow, and then staff meeting next week, where we'll talk about that and plan for that. And then last year, our 4th grade got to go to the YMCA for swimming lessons, and we're able to do that again this year, so we're excited about that. That starts September 27th, and will run through November, I believe, to get those Wednesdays in. So, looking forward to our kids being able to do that again.
Good deal. Any questions for David? Mr. Fitzgerald.
All right, PBS is going really well in the middle school. We are almost ready to have grade level celebrations. Our buckets are filling up very quickly. Kids are excited getting their weekly prizes with their names drawn. The staff is excited with it. We were able to actually draw one of the bus drivers' names and bring them a prize for handing out tickets and rewarding that as well. Hearing a lot of that common language around WHEEL, revisiting the expectations. The teachers did a great job before of having those discussions, but now they have consistent language and the kids are really hearing it. We're hearing the kids using the language between each other as they go through and kind of call each other out, but also encourage each other, like, wow, you've been really or honest with that, or talking about it, or engaged in it. And so it's exciting to see how it's changing. We're noticing an overall climate shift in the kids, more positive behavior between each other. We're seeing less time off tasks to correct the negative behavior because the kids are getting recognized. And it's just like the program wants to. You focus on positive, you're gonna see more positive, but we're handling the negative differently, more private one-on-one conversations, and that's definitely having a big impact in the classrooms. The teachers are noticing more time on task in the rooms that they can go for it. So we're achieving those goals as we go through. So we're excited about that. Enrollment numbers, we're up in the middle school with school of choice and in-district move-ins. We added 16. We had 5 friends leave us for one reason or another. So we are up about 35, if I remember my math correctly, from where we were last year. So it was a big group coming in. So we're at 265. We ended at 229 last year. So some growing pains in there, but we're adjusting well with it. Good feedback on the changes up to our classes that we had offered. Weightlifting is super popular. If we could double the weight room, we pack them in there. They're excited for that in 8th grade, and some of our freshmen are complained because they did not have that option when they went through. So that's some good feedback. We're getting ready, finishing up NWA testing on the 22nd, and then hopefully first week of October or 3rd week, depending on when PSAT testing is, going to be working as grade levels to dive into the data to see where our loopholes are and to strengthen up our instruction. But overall, things are going really well.
Good deal.
How many kids, 8th grade went to 9th and 5th into 6th?
Oh,
Sorry, to put you on the spot with that, I just,
74, 8th grade.
as you say, we lost 74 8th graders and we gained 99 6th graders. So that
you
was
get
a
25 students.
25 there, shuffle. This year's 5th grade class is about 72.
It's girls' class are 72.
Oh, I was like, wow, Becky, did you
I
study
read
it?
I read it on here.
Yeah, so 72, so we'll have one little bit slight shift down, and then after that, we're looking at large class sizes coming all the way through, stacked up after. So high 80s, 90s. Right now, it's all the way through that, Dave, through kindergarten, right?
K through 4 is 84 to 88, so they're all
Yeah.
in the 80s. Pearl's class is the smallest with 72 right now,
Yep.
5th grade.
So goodbye to low numbers is coming, and we'll adjust and keep making do, and
all right, thank you.
I'll talk about numbers too, since we're right on that.
Okay.
We gained 74, we lost 56 seniors. So we're up 319, 315 in the high school, so, yeah, we have more kids, a little bit more kids, so. But our numbers are still good. I will say it was not in my board report, but our juniors and seniors this year, we have about half of each grade level going to CTC. So if you think about that, we have a tremendous amount of kids who are participating in the hands-on activities and programming. At CTC, they take advantage of it, is what they do. The certificates and the certification that they get through the programs are just, they see very valuable, right? So a lot of our kids are taking advantage of that. A lot of our juniors, the first timers, are really enjoying their first time out there. And what that gives. So that's an interesting thing. I did not put in my board report, but it's something that it's good to share for numbers. Yeah, and everybody. So board report. There's a lot in there for the most part. I did want to put the blood drive in there and a link. Versiti is the company that we work with for NHS for our blood drives. We kind of take over the middle school gym for a day for our community. But you can always plug into Versiti, that link, and give at any time. So I would encourage anyone who's listening, continue to look at ways that you can continue to give and donate blood. We'll have another couple of times in the mid part of the year and then towards the spring, and we also have more times to get blood around. So thank you to Sean Murphy in organizing that with our NHS kids. There's some leadership roles with our kids that they take in that, so. Part of service learning. We have our senior focus day coming up. We went to this last year. Our seniors will go to Mid-Michigan Community College. And so interesting, because I just want to say, just because of the location doesn't mean that that's the only place that they talk to or only people that they talk to. They bring in other universities, four-year universities, as well as employers. So people I know last year when I went and walked around, they had lineman schools, they had some other different electricians and some other pieces that was nice for kids to talk to. And our kids are generally really good to talk to anyway, so we had a lot of positive feedback with that. So we're gonna go again. Plus the seniors get ice cream and the soft serve ice cream lane, so that's always a hit. So that's this Friday. This Friday, we're gonna go do that. Mrs. Watkins has organized that with Chris Pellerito at Mid-Michigan again, so we're gonna go over there. Hopefully they can again explore, and again, talk to several seniors that are still trying to figure it out for this year and see what the next step might be. So maybe something will click with more experiences, okay? We also, our WHEEL acronym and our core values, we call them core values in high school for the WHEEL. We are going to reinstate our freshman transition program. I know several of you were here when I first arrived. In my second year, we did go to Eagle Village and do that program first. We're going back to it finally after COVID. So we're just blending it directly with our PBIS initiatives and really teaching the kids the WHEEL acronyms and our core values of the school. They're gonna work on teamwork, resiliency. They'll get a chance to get on the high ropes course and the rock climbing wall and some other teamwork activities. They're working very closely. Thank you to Melanie Schmidt, our school social worker. She was reaching out and helping us organize that again. So getting back to that, the kids all get a t-shirt with the WHEEL acronym on the back, and my hope is that this will be something that we instill every year. So every freshman year, there's a transition and a welcoming to the high school as part of an acceptance, and just making sure that they know they're ready to go for high school. So thanks to Melanie to do that. Mr. Murphy with our freshman focus class. Every kid has a freshman focus class. Again, we tie back into that, as well as career and college, whatever the kids are looking at doing. We look at those things too throughout the course of the year. So it's all kind of blended together, which is nice. We're looking at doing that coming up September 19th. It's a Tuesday. Shortly after that, there's a manufacturing tour. We do that each year in the fall, thanks to Tim Rigling, the assistant superintendent at CTC. He out at the CTC has arranged some. We don't know the businesses yet. I know Mrs. Watkins asked for maybe our kids to have some exposure outside of McBain. So last year I know we went to the sawmill, which was great. I'd never been there and toured the place. It was outstanding for our kids, but we want to get a little bit different of exposure. So I know we've gone to FIAM before. We've gone to the Rex Boats and BP Technologies and manufacturing and a lot of other plants in the Cadillac area. Which is close by, so they have a lot of partnerships that way. So that's coming up in October for National Manufacturing Day. That's October 3rd. So that's in your piece. The two pieces that lastly I'll talk about, and we'll be done, is our Senior Scholar Award. We brought this to you last year and we cleaned it up, guys, and we went through some groups, some student groups, as well as staff, and just to look at what we wanted to do with that. There's almost 3 pages worth of procedure there. I was trying to not be like my wife says and over-explain, but I wanted to be very clear of what we're doing and how we're doing it, and our kids seem to appreciate that. There wasn't very many questions, to be honest, with our kids, and so they like the idea of the top 10 versus the percentage. That's the big piece there. What we did last year, they liked the top 10, so that was the feedback I got, and that's pretty much kind of what you see there. The percentages mark what the board approved in 2012 when we went by an ACT score instead of an SAT score to blend. So if you look at all those things, I'd be happy to answer more questions as we discuss and things of that nature. It's interesting when you look at something like a senior scholar process, you also find things like the early graduation process that you probably should clean up, so because there was some monthly deadlines and timelines that needed to be corrected on there that didn't work with the process. So we did that as well. It was mainly the timelines that we updated on that. That document is out on, it's live currently on our website, but so you can see the the old version versus this new version, it's basically the same thing. I just cleaned up the language and made sure that the board was able to approve any early graduation in an appropriate time before the end of December. So that was a big piece there. So, any question?
Good deal. Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No, that's all right. Thank you. Moving on to our committee reports. Do we have any committee meetings?
There were no committee meetings.
No committee meetings this month. And unless you have something from MASB,
I do not.
okay, probably nothing from there either then. Moving on to our discussion items. Discussion item A is LEA plan use of funds.
Yep, so this is one of the, you notice the requirements have gone down, so that's exciting, right? But yeah, our LEA plan use of funds, this is our ESSER funds, they have not changed. We're maintaining and we're keeping it the same as we have allocated for in our plan. We just need to update you every 6 months on this. And we've been updating you every month, just to make sure that we're in compliance. I hate forever the feds to come back and say, we need to take your money because no one updated anyone, but our plan has not changed. I don't think it's changed in over a year. So we're sticking to the plan from the survey results, from our community, and from the needs of our students. That's what we have there.
All right. And then the second one is our 31 AA mental health.
Yep, and you've heard Scott Hunter reference this as well as some of our grant money that we have received that is sitting there that we haven't spent, and we're getting more money this year for that. This is also what Liz spoke about, where we need guidance on what we're allowed to spend it on and what we can use it for. So just keeping that in front of you as well.
And it is my understanding that we do have to keep the dialogue open on like our board agendas for public input on that, so, because we're getting more funding this year, so, yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking, as Dave was saying, we are using some of that funding for the PBIS.
Correct.
And so that's.
The incentives, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice to hear the positive, results that's having, and knowing that we can use some of that money for that, so.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to our action items. November 12th at 6 p.m., Sunday night auditorium usage. This is our United, which is our area youth groups, I believe.
Correct.
Make a motion for that. Support.
All right, we have motion support for the auditorium usage on Sunday evening, November 12th, for the United groups. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item B, December 3rd at 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, auditorium usage for the Amen Chorus.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support for the Sunday afternoon auditorium usage for the Amen Chorus. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Action item C, September 24 at 1 p.m. Sunday practice auditorium usage for the Footlighters.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support for Sunday afternoon, September 24 for the Footlighters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then action item D, October 1 would be 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon auditorium usage for the Footlighters.
So moved.
Support.
Motion support for October 1 for the Footlighters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item E, Senior Scholar Award criteria to the high school handbook. Brian just alluded to this a few minutes ago. Sounds like the students are in favor of what we've been doing. I do know that Ken Stahl did reach out to Scott, our superintendent, and he just wanted to have a discussion about this. He liked the salutatory and valedictorian method, the way we used to do it. I don't know how the rest of you feel, if you are good with the way we've been doing it, or myself, I like the way we did it this past year. That's my feelings. I like doing the top 10.
That's what the kids want also, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, I actually threw that out there to the kids. I said, what do you think of a Val and Sal? It's a traditional first and second kind of ranking, and I really didn't get any, I got kind of blank stares, to be honest. So they didn't really have any opinion one way or another. They were kind of liking what we did last year, for the most part. I know that Mrs. Watkins had other conversations off the side with some kids that didn't make the meeting with us at one point. There was only one student that kind of was for that, you know, piece, so there was one person, but out of the masses, it was generally accepted that they wanted to do the top 10.
Top 10.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion top 10 versus top 10%? Just as the classes are smaller, the classes
Yeah.
are bigger?
They honestly didn't care about the numbers.
Okay.
I really think they liked the set amount of number.
Okay.
So that way they didn't have to figure out a percentage, or we didn't have as a school to decide about that number.
Got it.
So
I
it was
think,
just a
I
flat
think
number.
just for future, I think the board, I think we should see who the senior scholars are, not who they are, but where they rank. And just making sure that saying someone's a senior scholar is still a top rank of a class. Because opening it to 10 of 70 is a little different than 10 of 99. So I guess that would be my big thing, is to truly make sure they are senior scholars and that, you know, we're not diluting that pool, I guess is the best way to say it.
And that's where we include the 35% of the SAT score, so that's a test that we have nothing to do about, that's College Board, it's nationally recognized, it's high rigor, and so the students who, you know, 35% of that factoring of that formula is based on that national standard.
Yeah, I like the formula, all of that, I just, like I said, I just would wanna make sure that we, you know, that with the top 10, if you get a class of 60, I mean, that's a lot of your class, so just keeping that in mind for future.
And I had that also, that same thought, Becky, and like what Troy said, I'm not sure we did below 70 something.
Right,
for a long time.
exactly.
It's looking to trend that way, so if we look in the future to change something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think making sure it's still just that level of scholarly activity in their classes, and, you know, I know we've had conversations about if they take, you know, dual enrollment classes and what does that do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's a whole nother element to discuss. The rigor of classes that they took, can we take a higher than 4.0 GPA and factor that piece in? That's something we can expand upon as we go, but I think for this year, I think everybody's good to move forward. We also I want to make sure to say we included juniors in this discussion, so it wasn't just my senior group, it was juniors and seniors. So they're aware.
I can add to that too, with the top 10, going from this year's, you're talking maybe a 10th or a 100th of a point separation.
Yeah.
So when I don't think you're diluting the pool when you have a
that close.
100th of a point, you
Yep.
know. I
Agreed.
think that's
Typically, yeah.
celebrate.
Good point, yeah, it really is always very close, and traditionally too, if you have a balanced sale, sometimes you do run the risk of having maybe 3 valedictorians and
Right.
4 salutatorians, so then at that point, what are you doing? It's just nice to have a nice terminology for those kids.
And acknowledge them,
They all
absolutely.
work very, very hard, and we wanna make sure that they recognize.
Yep.
That's-
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to say one other thing too, sorry. Back when I went to school, the valedictorian and salutatorian also, they were up for more scholarships because of that title. That's kind of gone away. And they look at students' GPAs. They don't really look at ranks, they don't really look at, it's just a student's GPA. Colleges even now are going away from the SAT scores for scholarships and different things. So-
And I will say too, piggybacking off that, at the bottom I did add a paragraph about the traditional class ranking. So as a senior, when I graduate and I get my final transcript, I will see a class ranking based on the GPA only. That is a traditional ranking. So that'll exist on their transcript as they take it to college or they take it to their next employment. There's still that available in print copy that's always been traditionally done on the transcript itself, which colleges pay attention to for scholarships and other things. that was a question that we did clarify with the kids on.
And this will all be updated on the website as well, correct?
Yeah, this, you know, I really want it to be a part of our school handbook, so we don't have to keep going through this and people can wonder where's it at, and it's one document that you all, and the same thing with the early graduation process. I'd like to find a locator for that in the table of contents, so people can find it quickly, and then put that revised handbook out on the line.
Very good.
I just, yeah, I guess what, it doesn't matter. I was just thinking graduation, if you got 10 of them, and they all 10 want a 10-minute speech.
No, I always limited that, yeah, and, you know, I have traditionally in the past enlisted help with English teachers to sometimes vet through speeches, so we kind of have a process of elimination, kind of the best speeches that are put forward, and then we just choose with a small group of staff to do that. So if we had to do that, that's what I would probably do, I've done that in the past. But to be honest with you, usually half of them don't want to speak. But we had 5 or 6 last year, but it works beautifully. Actually, it's been working out very, very well.
No,
Kids participate, and there's a nice beginning to them, and they participate all throughout. And it's really, really gone nice.
You know, last year I got a lot of compliments on graduation.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Gary Vanna does a nice job as well.
People appreciate the time limit too, I mean, they really do.
45, that's what I do.
All right, do we have a motion on action item E?
Motion.
Support.
We have motion support for our senior scholar criteria. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item F, early graduation requirements to the high school handbook.
Motion.
Support.
We have motion support. Any discussion on early graduation?
Is it gonna affect extracurriculars, or has it in the past?
Yeah, so typically when they graduate, they can't do any of those things. And that's, I think, why the board traditionally, and I didn't put this in, it was what was in before, talks about not participating in the senior trip, because we really don't have any control over them at that point, or any kind of like, you know, piece that we can hold them accountable for their actions or behavior or anything like that. And so typically, yeah, I mean, the students who I know traditionally then, who have gone on to early graduation, actually it's because of athletics, or it's because of an academic, they want to get going on their academics so they can be a part of the culture. Yeah, there's a few things here listed here. Obviously, students who enlisted in the military early or something like that is another example that I've heard before, but traditionally this is not really viewed very much. This is not something that kids are seeking out. So they want to be here and participate.
All right, we have a motion and support. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to the back side of the page. Public comment. Guess we're not gonna have any tonight. Board round table, anybody got anything on their mind?
Yeah, I was just gonna go to the young guy to see if he had any input.
He's just getting his time in.
It's just like, I need my points.
And it ended up being shorter than we thought.
Yeah, really good.
We haven't started a round table yet.
Becky's good. Matt?
I mean, I've always got something to say. Lindstrom's gotta get out of here, so.
Everything good down there?
I'd make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn. Do we have support? Support. Motion support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Matt didn't go down, he got the door.
You don't want your audit books, I can collect those.
I knew she would, but I was like, oh, I always got something to say. It's good to see you. Ready?
Yes, I did. Well, I didn't, so,
I know what I want to say, but it just doesn't come out very well.